What are we discussing on today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast? D-backs look to end their road trip strong against the Boston Red Sox, and how should the bullpen be deployed moving forward?
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Listening to who? Always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. On today's show, this episode is brought to you by Supply House. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to get parts fast. Shop for your next plumbing, HVAC, or electrical job and get fast shipping from coast to coast at supplyhouse.com. Today's Locked On Diamondbacks podcast will be previewing the next series against the Boston Red Sox, talk about how the outfield is clicking in the month of August, and how should the bullpen be utilized moving forward. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. And one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. We have crossed the 1,200 subscriber threshold. Our next goal is 1,300 subscribers, so please hit subscribe to Locked On Diamondbacks on YouTube. But now let's get into the podcast and let's talk about the next series against the Boston Red Sox, because these are two franchises that have been very linked to each other the last few years. There's been a lot of sharing of players between these two squads, and most importantly, Torey Lovullo and Mike Hazen both come from that Red Sox organization. Mike Hazen was in that front office for a while, assistant GM. He did some scouting. Torey Lovullo even managed some games for the Red Sox. So there was a lot of connective tissue between these two franchises. And to go against Boston right now is going to be a great test for the Dbacks, who continue to play good teams since the month of June, which is where this whole streak started for Arizona. The Dbacks have had one of the toughest schedules in baseball over the last couple months, and they will still continue to have one of the toughest schedules to end the season, but does not matter. They have been cruising along. They've taken down so many good opponents the last couple months, and they will continue to take them down moving forward. And so this is just another good test against the Boston Red Sox team, who has been playing better offensively over the last couple of weeks, and is still a team that is vying for playoff positioning. Yes, they're on the outside looking in right now, but the Red Sox are still hoping with a couple of good weeks strung together that they could potentially still make the postseason. They're 3.5 games back of a wild card. They're still in the mix. And so if you're Boston, they're so desperate right now. They're trying to win every single game. And so far in the month of August, the Red Sox have had a little bit of a tough schedule themselves, but they've been able to play well and persevere through their tough schedule against the Texas Rangers, who they've beaten twice in the month of August, who I will say the Rangers by record have been bad this season, but still a talented squad. They beat the Royals, they beat the Astros, they split the Orioles. Like, the Red Sox have had a pretty tough schedule in the month of August, but they've been able to play all their opponents pretty well. But they're not going to have a tougher opponent than the Arizona Diamondbacks, who, if you're the D-backs, just another great test to continue to grow the confidence in your rotation, continue to grow the confidence in your lineup with your stars out. Like, just another good test and challenge for you if you're Arizona. Yes, it would be nice to get some give me series like you just got against the Miami Marlins, but if you're a true contender like the D-backs, you want to be tested entering the postseason. It's better to be playing well at your peak against the best teams in baseball than playing really well against just the mediocre teams. And then that's your sample size entering the playoffs. And so for the D-backs, what they've been able to do since June 1st, incredible. And then moving forward, still one of the 7 toughest schedules in Major League Baseball. to end the season, and their next opponent is the Boston Red Sox, who is fighting for playoff positioning. Just another good test for the Arizona Diamondbacks, and this is a series where you're going to have a pretty good setup in your rotation. Ryan Nelson, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly is going to be your 1, 2, 3. Now you do get to go against the 3 best pitchers for the Boston Red Sox as well. Brian Bello in game 1, Cutter Crawford in game number 2, and then Tanner Houck in game number 3. But all 3 starters for the D-backs have something to prove. Ryan Nelson, he wants to continue to prove that he deserves that last spot in the rotation. We've seen how Monty looks. We've seen how Ryan Nelson has looked the last couple months. Like, if you're Ryan Nelson, what more do I have to do to prove to the D-backs that I deserve that last rotation spot? There's not much more you can do if you're Ryan Nelson. All you can do at this point is continue to pitch well, continue to go out there and dominate, and hope it all works out for you. And hopefully the D-backs make the right decision by putting you in the rotation over Jordan Montgomery. So if I'm Ryan Nelson, I still got a little bit to prove. And going against a Brian Bello, who was really good to start the season, one of the guys that the Red Sox want to build their core around. But you look at his ERA since like the first month of the season, not too good. So a great opportunity for Ryan Nelson to really strut his stuff again against one of the better young starting pitchers on the ascension, but still pretty green behind the ears. I think this could be a good opportunity for Ryan Nelson to prove that he's the better starter in the game 1 matchup against the Red Sox. Zach Gallen, he's trying to prove that his struggles are more due to health than the fact that his ERA is like north of 4 over his last 30 plus starts. Like, for Gallen, he wants to prove that it's because he hasn't been in rhythm, and the more he gets the pitch, the more he's going to get more confident, the more his fastball command is going to get better, because that fastball right now is the biggest issue for Gallen. It's been his go-to pitch the last few years, but this season it just has not been effective at all. And so for Gallen, I think he's going to go out there and look to establish that fastball and try to refine the command, because that's the biggest weakness he has right now. If he can't reestablish that fastball command, it's going to be a concern for the rest of the year. So I think that's what he's looking to do in game number 2 against Cutter Crawford, who is another guy like Brian Bello. Started the season really good, kind of struggled the last couple months. And so another opportunity for a D-back starter to prove that they're the better pitcher in their matchup. And then Merrill Kelly, just like Gallen, trying to prove that he is healthy and he's going to be fine for the stretch run of the season. But because Kelly himself is coming off probably his worst start of the year, he didn't look too good in his most recent start. We still have a lot of faith in Merrill Kelly, so he wants to go out there, renew that faith, renew that confidence he has as well. I'm not worried about Kelly at all. I believe in a big game situation, end of regular season or in the playoffs, Merrill Kelly is going to be just fine. He just needs to build up a little bit more arm strength for the rest of the season. And he gets to go against Tanner Houck, who is the best Red Sox starter right now. So D-back starting pitching is going against the best of the Red Sox starting pitching, but D-back starters, I think, have more to prove right now than the Red Sox starters. Great opportunity for the rotation to continue to build confidence, and you get to do it against a pretty legit offense as well in the Boston Red Sox, who recently got Cassis back. You got Devers, you got Yoshida, you got Tyler O'Neill, like Rafaela, Will Abreu, Jarren Duran. Like, there's a lot of pieces in that Boston Red Sox lineup. And so a good 3 starts from your rotation can inspire a lot of confidence and make us all feel good about the rotation for the rest of the season. So I really like how the D-backs are set up in this next series to end their road trip strong against the Boston Red Sox. And one of the reasons that the road trip has been going well is because their outfield has been clicking, which we'll talk about in segment number 2. When you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a surefire summer hit. Tear, pour, live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. No more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. And also, if you're looking to get supplies, then I suggest you go to Supply House because get supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy to use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining supplyhouse.com's free TradeMaster program. Every TradeMaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at supplyhouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at supplyhouse.com. All right. Let's get back into the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. And let's talk about how the outfield has been clicking for Arizona because we know the Dbacks have been dealing with a ton of injuries in their lineup. We've had our star, our MVP, Ketel Marte, now down for a little bit. He's currently on the injured list. He's probably going to be out at least another week. Marte was one of the hottest players in the second half of the season. He's been one of the hottest players all year in baseball. I mean, he's got a 300 average, a 930 OPS, 30 home runs, and over 80 RBIs. Like, Ketel Marte has been insane this season, and he will finish second in MVP voting. Hopefully, if he still comes back early enough. And then, of course, Gabriel Moreno, he's been out for a while now. He's still probably going to be out a couple more weeks as well. He was really starting to take off right before he got hurt, especially in that number 2 spot against the left-handed pitchers. Moreno was crushing, and now all of a sudden he's gone. And, of course, Christian Walker, he might be out another month as well. I mean, this was a guy who was probably going to hit a career high in home runs and maybe RBIs and maybe have the best season of his career. And now he can still have himself a very good year, but the injury definitely hurts. It won't be as good of a season statistically as it could have been. He could have had a career high in home runs, maybe career highs across the board. And now he's still going to finish with very strong numbers, but not as elite as I would have liked it to have been. And so with 3 stars out in the lineup, how have the D-backs been able to really replace so much of that production? Well, we've talked about it so much on this podcast, so many guys that have stepped up, but one of the areas that have really stepped up for the D-backs over the last month is the outfield. Jake McCarthy, Lourdes Gurriel, and Corbin Carroll have been so important to what the D-backs have done over the last month with the Moreno, the Walker, and Marte's out. Those 3 guys have really stepped up in a big way. Jake McCarthy, we know, has been stepping up all season for the D-backs, right? We know with the Gurriels and the Carrolls struggling, Jake McCarthy has been the best D-backs outfielder for most of this year. His slash line on the season, 304 average, 833 OPS, 18 stolen bases, and he's tied his career high with 8 home runs. Like, McCarthy's having a phenomenal year, and now he's being joined by the other 2 outfielders, Lourdes Gurriel and Corbin Carroll. Finally, Corbin Carroll has gotten it going since like July with the power numbers over his last 6-7 weeks. The slugging has been there for Corbin Carroll. Lourdes Gurriel, he had a hot June, cooled off in July. Now he's having a good August once again. And when you look at the August numbers for their outfield, it's probably been the biggest reason why they've been able to keep producing offensively despite having some of their stars out of their lineup. Because you look at the offensive numbers for the outfield right now. Jake McCarthy, we know all season he's been great, but even in the month of August, he continues to be fantastic. A 174 WRC plus, a 338 average, a 339, a 335. Well, A 395. I don't know what number I was trying to say. A 395 OBP and a 603 slugging, all in the month of August. Only a 13% strikeout rate as well. Like, Jake, of course, also has some clutch hits, some monster home runs, like some of the biggest home runs I've ever seen in his career. Longest, most powerful came in the last week. And so he's been fantastic this month of August. Clutchness, walk-offs, everything. Corbin Carroll, the last few weeks, he's finally been turning it on. And in the month of August, he's been even better, right behind Jake and WRC Plus at 156. He's got a 609 slugging in the month of August. He even has a 261 average, which is solid. His walk rate is up to 10.3%, and his strikeout rate is sub 20. So we're seeing Carroll walk more, hit for power, strike out less. Like, he's finally doing everything that we wanted him to do. And defensively, he's been fantastic as well. The plays he's been making right field, it feels like he's gobbling up every ball out there. He's been so good defensively. And finally, his bat is starting to come around for the reigning rookie of the year. He's finally starting to tap into that power. Jake McCarthy has 5 home runs in the month of August. Corbin Carroll has 6 home runs in the month of August, as we're seeing those two guys heat up from a power standpoint. Then Lourdes Gurriel, he's finally starting to get it going as well. We still need more power from him. Only a 393 slugging in the month of August. Just not good enough. But it's being helped with a 304 batting average and a 400 OBP. Lourdes Gurriel right now still has a WRC plus in the month of August of 126. He doesn't strike out a ton, only 13.8%. He gets a pretty good walk rate, 10.8% in the month of August. We just need a little bit more from that power department. He's getting good contact ability. He's getting on base. He's not striking out. We're just not getting a ton of power from Lourdes Gurriel right now. And if he can add that, this outfield is perfect. And then, of course, you still got Randall Grichuk off the bench, who is like that perfect complementary platoon piece, pinch hitter, defensive specialist as well. Like, I love Grichuk. He's actually super clutch as well. You look at his numbers at runners in scoring position. He has been fantastic this season. And now with Alek Thomas going on the injured list with another oblique injury, seems like this is going to be the locked-in outfield for the rest of the season. Jake, Carroll, Gurriel as your go-to everyday guys, and then you sprinkle in a little Randall Grichuk as well. And I think that's a perfect outfield for the postseason, perfect outfield for the rest of the regular season. Gurriel, tap into a little bit more power. Carroll, tap into a little bit more overall contact ability. And then Jake, you just keep doing what you're doing. And that means the outfield is perfection. At that point, it's looking perfect. I wouldn't change a thing for the rest of the regular season. I think that's my core 4 that I'm riding into the playoffs. And hopefully we bring back that mix for next season as well. Now I want to talk to you guys about how I believe the bullpen should be utilized in segment number 3. For those of us who thrive on getting stuff done, including workouts, every minute counts. That's why you need Tonal, the smart strength training system that takes the guesswork out of working out so you can make sure you're making the most out of every rep. Tonal is the world's smartest and most effective strength training system that gets you stronger. Powered by AI, Tonal learns with every rep so you can deliver workouts personalized just for you. It's just like having a personal trainer at home with you, as Tonal will optimize every workout just for you. From professional athletes to the Mama 3, Tonal is trusted by thousands who have become their strongest. Right now, Tonal is offering our listeners $200 off your Tonal purchase with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Tonal.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off your purchase. That's Tonal.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $200 off. All right. Let's get back to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, and let's discuss how the bullpen should be utilized going forward. Because as we said on yesterday's podcast, we are done with Jordan Montgomery, and I'm seeing a lot from Dbacks media today, from the website to the podcast. It seems like everyone is off the Monty bandwagon. And I think a lot of people have been off for a while. And so if you're taking Monty out the rotation and moving him to the bullpen, we want Gallen, Kelly, Fott, Erod, Ryan Nelson now as our rotation. How does our bullpen shape up now? How should the bullpen be utilized? How should it be deployed? It still sounds like there's been conversations about who the closer should be. We've discussed it should be Justin Martinez. Let's put it all out there on the line right now. How the bullpen needs to be utilized and deployed for the rest of the regular season. And hopefully this is how it gets used in the postseason as well. Closer. This is the most obvious one. There is one guy in this D-backs pitching staff that should be the closer. That is Justin Martinez. I love Kevin Ginkel. I like Ryan Thompson. But of all the options, Justin Martinez can be the only closer. The Ginkles and the Thompsons, for whatever reason, are just not effective closers. Those guys are elite setup men, elite in high leverage moments, elite in the 7th and 8th inning. But you make it a save situation in the 9th inning. Those guys, for some reason, don't step up to the plate. They don't have the closer mentality for some reason. And Justin Martinez, even the other night when bases were loaded, I was not worried at all that he was going to give up an earned run. And yes, the guy ended up scoring because of a pitch in the dirt. I thought that splitter was perfect. I thought it was the catcher who did not corral the ball, and that's why the run scored in that 9th inning against the Marlins. Justin Martinez, even when there's traffic on the bases, I'm still confident he can work out of it because of that elite strikeout ability. The hard stuff with the off-speed stuff is incredible. The fastball with the splitter is a nasty combination. And I think Justin Martinez has to be the closer moving forward. Your 8th inning guy, I think, is undoubtedly Kevin Ginkel, who has been elite in those situations. His whip is fantastic. He has a good strikeout rate. He doesn't walk people. He doesn't give up home runs. Like, Kevin Ginkel is the perfect 8th inning guy. He's also fiery. He's spicy. I think he has the mentality of someone that should be the setup guy. For some reason, he doesn't work out as the closer, but as a setup man, I think Kevin Ginkel is absolutely perfect. I think he's got the cojones factor as well. And so I love him as my 8th inning dude. In the 7th, I'm going with Ryan Thompson. He's got that weird, funky delivery, which I think keeps hitters off balance. He's got a good whip as well. And the reason why he's in the 7th is because he doesn't have that strikeout ability like a Kevin Ginkel. Thompson's a little bit more clean. He's not going to give up walks. He might give up a few hits here and there, but there's not a ton of traffic on the bases for Ryan Thompson. He's pretty clean overall, can get the ground ball, can get the double play out as well, which I feel like is bigger in the 7th inning. You come in for that starter with the man on, 1 out, and you get that double play ball to end the inning. Ryan Thompson, I think, is the perfect 7th inning guy for the D-backs. And then in my 6th, or prior to my 7th, I'm going Joe Mantiply. He's my go-to lefty. Or excuse me, before I even talk about what I'm doing before the 7th, Ryan Thompson is my guy in the 7th, but it could also be an AJ Puk. It really depends on the lineup. Ryan Thompson's probably going to get the 7th like 70% of the time, but if you're going against like a Phillies lineup where you have to go against maybe like a Schwarber and a Bryce Harper at the top of the lineup, then maybe go with AJ Puk in that situation. But the 7th, 8th, and 9th is more than likely going to be Ryan Thompson, Ginkel, and Martinez. And if there's a little bit of a lefty-heavy lineup, then maybe you go with Puk in that 7th inning or Ryan Thompson. Now, what I was getting to earlier, prior to the 7th, Mantiply is my go-to lefty, either in that 6th inning, in that 5th inning, or if Puk is tired. Like, I'm not using a lefty that's not named Puk prior to the 7th inning. Like, if I need a go-to lefty specialist in the 6th, I'm going with Joe Mantiply. The only reason I would use Mantiply in like the 7th or 8th inning is because AJ Puk has pitched like the last 3 outings and he's unavailable. You need to give him a little bit of rest. Then it's okay to go with Mantiply. But in most situations, Mantiply should not be coming out in the 7th or 8th inning. Those should be AJ Puk innings if you're looking for a lefty. Otherwise, Mantiply, I like him in the 6th. I like him in the 5th. Some mid-leverage reliever moments as well. I think that's fine for Joe Mantiply. And then Paul Sewald and Dylan Floro, they're both getting low to mid-leverage situations. Dylan Floro has been bad all season in high-leverage moments. And Paul Sewald, I just don't trust him after the 7th inning. Maybe the 7th inning, I could see Sewald going in every now and then, but mostly a 5th and 6th inning guy. I want to see them mostly in situations where the D-backs are up a lot or down a lot. There's not there shouldn't be too many close games where Sewald and Floro are pitching, at least in the postseason. In the regular season, I guess there could be a couple instances, but in the postseason, those guys should never be in close game situations for the most part. And so I would put them in low to mid leverage situations in the 5th and 6th inning. And now my go-to long reliever, now that we don't have Bryce Jarvis any longer and Ryan Nelson, I'm not putting in the bullpen. Now it's Jordan Montgomery. He's the long reliever. If a Brandon Pfaadt or Ryan Nelson has a blow-up start, then you go at Monty. Or if you need just another low leverage reliever, if you need your third lefty out the pen, then you go with Jordan Montgomery. But for the most part, 9th inning closer, Justin Martinez, 8th inning, Kevin Ginkel, 7th inning, Ryan Thompson, most likely. If it's a lefty heavy lineup, you could go AJ Puck. Mid leverage situations or situations prior to the 7th that requires a lefty, I'm going Joe Mantiply. Any other situation prior to the 7th, give me Floro or Sewald. And if it's a long reliever situation, give me Jordan Montgomery. And I think that's the best use for this D-backs bullpen for the rest of the regular season, and probably the best use of this bullpen for the postseason as well. Now, that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more come back next week for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Doses.